Our Spotlight panel. It's Fox and Friends weekend co-host Charlie Hurt, Fox News senior national correspondent Kevin Corke, and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Fellas, good to see you here today. Let's talk about, Charlie, we'll start with you, your big moment of the week. What stood out to you this week, Charlie?
Oh, I think it was Jack Smith appearing before the House committee yesterday, and this incredible takedown by Congressman Brandon Gill, basically exposing Jack Smith for using, I would argue, and he would argue, at the least, duplicitous arguments in order to get a secret warrant on sitting members of Congress. So you have somebody who is working ostensibly in the executive branch, spying on the legislative branch, and accusing the sitting Speaker of the House of being such a flight risk that the courts couldn't even tell him that he was being spied on by the executive branch. And people want to talk about the norms, and they want to talk about, crises inside the government. I can't think this is the greatest constitutional crisis to hit our government in the past 10 years.
I mean, Congressman Brandon Gill is turning into one hell of a cross-examiner. Kevin Corke, your big moment.
Yeah, I agree with you, by the way, Charlie. Brandon Gill, it's like Josh Hawley. These guys are so skilled. It's really a delight to watch from a legal perspective. But I think my big moment, frankly, was the president going over to Davos and proving once again he is not a globalist. He is the anti-globalist. And that's not only great for this country, I think it's great for the entire world, because it's okay to defend and obviously support the aims and goals of your people, your team. And President Trump showed that once again.
Reshuffled the world order, as he has throughout his entire presidency, but in this case, in one weekend. Joe.
I'm going back to two topics here, Will. I'm going back to Davos and Gavin Newsom, who just had a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad week. I mean, that should have been a very cozy place for a guy like Gavin Newsom, given his Richie Rich background, right? I mean, one of the richest people in the world, at least he was among them, and the most pretentious sounding town in the world, Davos. Gavin Newsom should have felt right at home, but then he brings the Trump knee pads like you see on that screen, and for a second he thought he was some bad version of Jimmy Kimmel meets Stephen Colbert, and he thought that was funny, and then when he was confronted by what Team Trump said about him, he said he was offended by it and it was unbecoming for them to do so, which just shows you that this guy is as fictional as that high-speed train that he wasted $18 billion on not to build. But overall, when you look at his record, get beyond the gel and get beyond the teeth, highest income taxes in the country, highest homeless rate in the country, highest poverty rate in the country. You can count on one hand how many homes have been rebuilt in those Palisades fires. And you get the feeling that if Gavin Newsom ever ran a funeral parlor, no one would die, Will.
He made, Joe, he made a gay oral sex joke, as pointed out very bluntly and well yesterday by Greg Gutfeld. And you can just see in another moment, a very similar, but where he finds himself on the other side of a given moment, he would yell that that was homophobic. That's no doubt how he would react to his own joke should it come out of his political opponent's mouth. To me, just underlining that he is an absolute and utter fraud. Charlie, we began the morning, you and I, together on Fox and Friends talking about this, and that is at the Australian Open, tennis players, American tennis players, were all asked about this from one reporter.
I've been asking a lot of the American players just how it feels to play under the American flag right now, and I'm curious how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in America, so I'm always proud to represent my country.
Just to clarify a little, I mean, sort of in the context of the last year of everything that's been happening in the U.S., does that complicate that feeling at all?
I don't think that's relevant.
Whatever I say here is going to get put in a headline, and it's going to get taken out of context, so I'd really rather not.
We are a mixing pot. We are very diverse. We are a home of immigrants, and I hope that we can get back to those values.
Okay, interesting. That last cut is a new one that I hadn't seen, because the rest of them are all tennis players rejecting the premise of the question and the bait, Charlie, being thrown out by that reporter to turn their weekend of potential victory into his headline for politics.
And I love how each one of them outplayed him at his own game. He's trying to stir this stuff up, and they were having none of it. But I think that the point you made this morning is probably the most important point, and that is that every single one of these athletes came out here. They have excelled. They have become the best at what they do because of their ability to focus on something that all of the people who are watching the Australian Open are interested in. And yet you have this loser who has nothing better to do, wants to ruin all of it by trying to inject stupid politics in it. And they're like, no, actually, we just want to talk about tennis because that's what everybody's here for.
Yeah, it's also a really weak question. Just be upfront.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want them to talk about Donald Trump, ask them to talk about Donald Trump. Right. Ask me that question. It's going great in America. That's what I'd say. Yeah, it's going great. What are you worried about? But what are you talking about?
Flip it back on them.
Yeah, I feel real proud of the flag right now. All right, we got to leave it there, though. Charlie, Kevin, and Joe, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.